Good afternoon, class. My name is Danny Martinez, and this is going to be the final interview project for Man 3301.
Tell me about yourself.
So, my name is Danny Martinez. I am a 22-year-old college student. Uh, I'm finishing my bachelor's degree up in business management. I should be graduating within the winter or spring, and I'm also a full-time employee. My occupation is a sheet metal mechanic. I have I've worked here for as a sheet metal mechanic for over 3 years now. Where um, I love all the what the company stands for and what we can do over there. We have work on various different parts for planes, and we also work on Boeing planes, Gulfstream planes, and some sort of Air Force planes as well. I've also played sports when I was younger. I played my whole life I think I started at the age of 4, and I worked all my way up to my early 20s. I also been high honors student my whole life basically. I have always been in the honors classes and the AP classes when I was in high school, all things of that sort. And yeah, that's about it.
Why are you interested in this position?
So I want to level up as a sheet metal mechanic. Um, I know that I've completed various jobs under this occupation satisfactorily, and I on my quarterly and annually follow-ups, I've always received great um, feedback from my higher ups. I have It's a very great strong passion I have for what I like to do. So I like where I work, and it's a very convenient job to work at, especially at my age, because I can get around a lot, and I'm receiving a lot of new information, a lot of new knowledge, things that might have taken a couple of years to learn have taken me a couple months, luckily, just by writing down good notes, taking in all the information that is needed, and just to learn very carefully, listen very carefully to what the higher ups have to say when they give me a step-by-step process, teaching me what to do and how to do it. I try to listen to the best of my abilities and not change the way that they teach me. So if they were to teach me a certain way, try not to change the type of work that I would do with them. So if they want me to do it type A and as 2 ways, I'm gonna do it in the type A way. And this industry, I completely want to just focus on for the continuation. I have gained a large amount of knowledge from everyone, and it's something that I have great passion for, and I also am very skilled at with the amount of time that I've put in, and luckily it's came back out the same way and vice versa. So I know that you guys are hiring for the sheet metal mechanic just to level up, so I believe that I can foreclose all for this job occupation.
What are your greatest strengths and weaknesses?
So I have a good amount of strengths. Some of them that come to mind would have to be communication. I've always been a good employee to revert back to with my higher ups. If there's almost never a time where there's miscommunication between me and a higher up, as we always like to what's the word? Like to make sure that everything was very well detailed for the job planning and that there was no misunderstandings or just confusion of any sort. Adaptability would also have to be another strength. There's been times where in the job at the job force where not the owner, the supervisor hasn't came in, and we had to see what was on the plate for that day, and we just had to adapt with little to no supervising. So that's one. Teamwork and attention to detail has definitely grown on me. I was very I like doing my own work and just keeping to myself, but luckily with the job that I have now, I was able to expand that. Um, and attention to detail is extremely crucial as in the aviation business. If there's no rooms or areas for slip ups or just like what ifs and what happens, because if your job is going into an airplane, so there's no like pulling off to the side compared to how there would be in a car or whatnot. It has to be 100% perfect every single time, all the time, with no excuses. So that's a very good job occupation to clearly help me with attention to detail. And for my weaknesses, I'd have to say that taking on too much at once. Um, I don't like telling people no when they give me a task. So sometimes if I'm already on one and I receive another task, I'll likely continue to work on it and then unable to finish the first task. So that's definitely something that I have been told and will continue to work on. And also, I've been known to ask for help way too late. I like to think of myself as a hard worker and someone that can get things done by their own. So there's been times where I've been on a project or a task at my job, and it's just the time is caught up to me, and I haven't finished with the appropriate time. So I would have to just call in a higher up or my supervisor or a lead to come help me with to finish the job that I had, and it was able to get completed just but with a little bit of help.
Tell me about an accomplishment that you were proud of.
One accomplishment that I'm proud of is at work. We had to get a unit shipped out coming up very fast, and the time that we had to ship it out under was the window was very small. So we were working our overtime hours, the whole week, and then they asked us on a Saturday, which we aren't supposed to really work weekends, to to continue to stay to make sure that the unit gets shipped. And instead of working an 8-hour shift, we ended up staying there the whole day. So it was 24 hours from the shift. So ended up having to stay all the way till Sunday. And we ended up completing the unit somehow, some way, by a miracle. I was very content with the job that I was able to put out and with the job that my team was able to put out, because by like fate we weren't supposed to get that unit shipped, because just the time window that we had wasn't really wasn't gonna work out for us. And just with a lot of hard work and dedication, my team and I were able to get it done, and the company was very happy with the job that we put out, that they even put pictures of us on the screen, and they recognized us for our hard work and our achievements that stood out far over any other employees or group in the plant.
How do you prefer to be supervised?
So when it comes to supervision, I don't really have a problem with it whatsoever. My supervisor now, She likes to check in on us whenever she feels it's right, and she works within the area, so she can always really keep an eye out on us. But I like to be supervised that same way, just because our supervisor is in the area, not to make sure that we're working, but to make sure that we have everything that we need while we're working. So she'll continuously ask us questions if we need this or if we need that, if the guns that we're using are too dull, just what you name it, and she'll be there asking us on the floor what she can do to make our lives easier, which is a great benefit for all the employees, because there's been times where we need a certain part for a certain tool for a part, and the place we go to get them, they're all out of them. So luckily, our supervisor, with the background that she has and the time that she has spent at this company, she knows like a little her loopholes around it. So there have been plenty of times where we've needed a certain part and our company was unable to give it to us, but luckily she knew some people in the area that we were able to get the part and continue and keep up the good job. So just any type of supervision, really, it doesn't bother me whatsoever, but I would prefer the one that keeps the supervisor within the area, just so they can continue to check up on us and make sure that all is okay.
How would a former supervisor describe you? How about your friends?
So for a former supervisor to describe me, I would just have to say hardworking, a good teammate, and my friends would have to say the exact same thing, because the same way I am at work is the same way I am with friends. Definitely overachiever. I've always liked to get more things done at first compared to like doing just enough of what the job's asked for. If there's a job that takes 3 hours and I finish it in 1, I will continue to work on another job once I finish that one. I don't like to sit around and wait for the time to be completed, rather to like, what can I do with my time management to help me and to help the company that I'm working for. Yeah, but my friends and all my supervisors that I've had were definitely they would definitely write the same exact thing, to be quite honest with you.
What have you learned from your failures?
Something that I've learned from my failures is that I don't look at failures as failures, but failures as lessons. Every failure that I've had has helped me grow to be a better person, a better employee, just a better overall person, and it helps me take a different perspective to look at different things. So I don't ever see any scenario as a failure, but as a learning lesson, to make sure that whatever happened that didn't work out within this part of life, I learned from it, and will continue to go forward, knowing that whatever happened, and just take one step forward, one at a time, and to make sure not to fall or fail in that place again. So I take failures very personally, because I know that it won't continue to happen again, and that it's all a learning experience, and to just move on forward from there.
When working on a team project, have you ever dealt with a strong disagreement among team members, or team members who didn't do their part? What did you do?
This happened actually a lot of times to me in school, actually. Throughout high school and college, I've been, there's been assignments where teachers have put students amongst a team, And how many times has it happened where a team member hasn't put in the same quality that you put in? So there was one time I remember in middle school where we got assigned, I think it was four different students, so five including myself, and each person got assigned a part. And one student would never catch up with us. They wouldn't do their part of the project, and every time that me and the other students reached out to him, he would say that he was going to get on the job and would never come do it. So as time went on, the project ended up getting more and more later, and the due date ended up coming up, and this student had nothing to show his work for. So what we did was we asked him one more time, because we had a week left on the project. We asked him one more time, like, please get this project in by this, and your part by a couple of days. We have the project due next week, and we have to all form it up together to make it into one. And they said they were going to do it, and once again, they were unable to complete it. So what me and my teammates did was that, because everyone was in charge of their role, and if one person didn't do the role, then the whole team would get a bad grade. What my teammates and I, or what my students and I did was that we asked the student one more time, and then once we saw that he was unable to complete his part, we all took screenshots of the conversations that we had. We all took screenshots of our part of the projects that we completed up to that point, and then showed the teacher that the student was all the screenshots and how he was unable to complete anything for the project that was due, and that it was extremely unfair for us to be graded as well as based on his work ethic, just because of him not complying with anything. And luckily, the professor was able to reach out to the student, and they worked their own solution, and then me and my group was able to work our own solution with the teacher. So everything got worked out, and everyone really got the grade that they deserved. So yeah.
Describe a time when you used persuasion to convince someone to see things your way.
I remember one time that I was being trained at my job, and the type of way that I was being trained was very different compared to what I learned in the classroom. So what I had learned in the classroom, when I went to go put that work into like actual work on the floor, the mechanics were telling me that it was wrong, that I had to switch it up and to do it their way. And I was a little bit confused because everyone in the classroom told me that this was done like the proper way, that I was doing it was the correct way. So I was confused because I was getting told two different things by two different people. What I was able to do was and the person that was telling me on the floor the proper way to do it, I had to convince them and persuade them that, listen, like, I was in the classroom and I know that they have more experience than me, but I was told that this is the correct way to do it. And we ended up going back and forth for a little bit. Nothing drastic, but I ended up calling up the higher up that was teaching me, and they were able to break down the similarities and differences of the techniques that they were both using. And surprisingly not, the higher up was able to convince the other mechanic that the first technique was correct. So I just got very lucky, and that was a very good way of persuasiveness to help out the employees, because at first he didn't want to hear anything about it and just wanted to stick to his way because that's what he's been used to for so long. And then when he finally gave it a try, he actually was able to realize that the first way was easier for him as well.
Provide an example of when you have to go above and beyond the call of duty to get a job done.
I want to double down and provide the same example I did for one of the questions above, where we had to stay 24 hours straight on the job to make sure that the unit got shipped out. Most companies aren't known to do that. They're supposed to work their 8 hours and then let the employees off and then come back for the next day. But we had a lot of hardworking, dedicated employees that wanted to make sure that the company got what they needed. So they were able to sacrifice their day, including me, to make sure that the unit was able to get shipped out. And there was a handful of people that went home because they had plans and whatnot, but for the select few that stayed, they definitely had to go above and beyond the call of duty to get the job done.
Tell me about a time when you influenced the outcome of a project by taking a leadership role.
So at my job, there's plenty of times where the leads don't come in, the supervisors don't come in, and everyone kind of just does their own work at their own pace until the day's over. But I don't really like to work that way. I can, if the higher ups aren't here, I like to kind of not take over, but work the same way as we would if they were here compared to if they weren't. So I like to check things off with everything that's being done on our side of the plant, in our area, and I just like to go off from there. So I like to take that little leadership role when our leads and supervisors aren't here. I don't inflict any rules or regulations that they do, but I just like to kind of check up on people and make sure that everyone's doing their part for the day to get the job done. And
Provide an example that demonstrates your ability to motivate others.
so I also want to double down on this same question. So as I said, when the supervisors and leads don't come to the job force, it's up for us the mechanics to do the job and the job that our higher ups aren't completing. And like I said, a lot of the times the mechanics will go off, do their own things. They think that since there's no higher ups, they're being unsupervised, that they can go walk around the plant and just take slower on their jobs. And what I like to do is I don't like to work that way. So there's been a handful of times where I've rounded up my team and had like a little meeting for the day, kind of somewhat of what we do when our higher ups are here. And I don't really, like I said, set rules or regulations, just kind of clarify what everyone's going to be doing today and what's on the chart for them. So as I said, these mechanics are very unmotivated when the higher ups aren't here. So due to the meeting and bringing everyone together, I was able to motivate all of us amongst another and just put a good message out to make sure that even though that we don't have our higher ups in the building, that we need to make sure to have a good day and to get our jobs done.
Describe a situation when you have many assignments or projects due at the same time. What steps did you take to finish them?
I remember back earlier in high school, I used to procrastinate a lot of my schoolwork. So there was a point in time where I was at the end of the semester and we had finals due. Our exams were due that week, and I had a lot of schoolwork on top of that, and for each class, and everything was due at that week. So what I did, instead of just letting all the work like eat me up inside, For the whole week, I set out one day for each class. So I was taking 5 classes, and Monday I would focus to finish just what I had for like the English class, for example. And then on day 2, I would focus on just what I had for math class. And no matter how long or short it took, it helped me keep me more organized and motivated, since I was able to focus on just one thing and then complete it and move on to the next one on the next day, instead of just doing one thing from here and one thing from there. It was able to organize my work ethic more, and luckily I was able to get it done.
Provide an example of what you have done when your time schedule or plans was upset by unforeseen circumstances.
There's been times where it's only happened to me twice actually, but when I've had to go to I had a vacation planned out for me and my friends, and it's been a trip that we've been planning out for months, and we got PTO, we all got time taken out of our jobs to make sure that we could go enjoy our time together. And once we get to the airport to fly out, we got hit with very bad weather and got our flight canceled. And that was for the whole weekend. So the whole weekend was just like almost a hurricane. It was very bad weather, just stormy, rain. So we were able to get a refund on our tickets for the plane ride, but the time that we put in for the PTO and stuff was all lost. So I just had to look at it as a positive, that we, like, nobody got hurt, everyone got saved, we got the money back. So that was one way I was able to not let unforeseen circumstances take my joy away.
Describe a time when you received constructive criticism.
When I received constructive criticism, it was throughout, one time it was throughout when I first started at my job. You get training for a certain amount of time, and then you go to, once you get on the floor and actually start working on the big units, it's very, I would say, challenging, and can get in your head very fast, because people with many years experience expect you to get on the jobs right away, but it's not as easy as that, because it's more complex and, like I said, very detailed. So for my first couple months, I was very stressed, very anxious, and when my supervisor gave me my quarterly report, she was able to give me constructive criticism on what I need help, what I don't need help with, where to go from here to improve as a mechanic. And there was a lot of cons on the report, but I was able to take it as a pro and just see what I can do to work on, instead of pouting and letting the bad things get to me. So that's one way I have received constructive criticism.